What are some of the lessons from the fallout of Charlie Kirk's assassination? You're listening to
The New England Take.
NewEnglandTake.com. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're checking us out on YouTube. Big thank you to WKXL for picking up the show every Saturday at 8:30 a.m., rebroadcast through the week. And big thank you also to theGraniteGrock.com for sharing out our episodes every Saturday night. Before we get into the content of today's episode, I want to give a plug to the Filmmakers Collaborative in Pembroke City Limits over in Pembroke, New Hampshire, 134 Main Street is going to be putting on a screening of Gone Guys. They will be happening September 30th at 7 p.m. Film screening. It's presented by Filmmakers Collaborative. Full disclosure, I am the editor of Making Media Now, which is their podcast that they have. But the filmmaker tells a story of how over the past 50 years, boys and young men have steadily disengaged from school, work, and broader society. They're falling behind academically, struggling with loneliness and isolation, facing rising rates of substance abuse and suicide. Kind of appropriate to the subject of what we're talking about today. I think it's really important to consider all sides of this situation. I'll put details in the episode description. Please consider checking us out. It'll be September 30th at 7 p.m. It's at Pembroke City Limits in Pembroke, New Hampshire. All right, I've put together a bunch of stuff this past week from I don't even know, from an online world perspective, and so much else has been crazy. Charlie Kirk being assassinated. I saw the video. I'm specifically recording this the last minute so I can get it up online and for broadcasts and stuff, because I didn't want my kid to be around to hear more about this going on, because I'm hoping he heard a little bit of me talking about this last week, and he's like, what happened to him? And I had to explain, this guy got murdered, and likely for his beliefs, which is tragic and terrifying, and I don't even know how to describe something like that. So I broke it down to super high level for him so he can move on with his life. Reassured him there's nothing he needs to deal with being a young child, elementary school or middle school child now, and I hope he could just move on with his life, because this is a terrifying thing. And one of the worst things really from this is the response from so many people on the left. Honestly, everything is tragic around Charlie Kirk's family. It's like, first and foremost, obviously, Erica Kirk is actually it's been announced by the board of Turning Point USA that Erica Kirk, his wife, is going to be taking over as the new person in charge of Turning Point USA. I think the two of them worked together a lot when it came to how that organization functioned for their advocacy and everything of that nature. So that makes sense to me that they would be doing something of that nature. I couldn't imagine having something like that happen to me and my wife and kid, having to pick up the pieces. And she appears to be being strong and doing what she can to make sure that he didn't die in vain. I mean, one of the most frustrating responses from an online influencer that's been played over and over again in lots of different videos and such is this one progressive woman, leftist woman, saying that Charlie Kirk is a martyr, so his death will mean nothing, and her laughing and smiling about it. And I think that really sets the stage for the dichotomy between the people that are the most severe political enemy to everyone in this country are the people that literally were out there celebrating his death, versus literally everyone else. Because if we have a discourse that is outright saying, hey, this is awesome that this happened, really sets the stage for more political violence. It sets a normalization. I mean, say what you will about the assassination attempts on Donald Trump last year. Crazy. But to have someone who's just a civilian, not running for office, just he was an activist. He out there just putting his ideas out there, making sure college students that feel like they aren't alone when it comes to their political beliefs on campus, because they do turn into a bubble. As much as people like to say that it is not an issue, it is definitely an issue. I definitely saw it when I was in college, and that when I graduated in 2010. So this is an issue that Charlie was looking to address, and people can say, "Oh, we did it all for the podcast clicks and everything of that nature," but he honestly, I sincerely believe he honestly felt he was helping people and making sure that our country was going in the right direction because he didn't like the direction it was going. And to disregard all the work he put in is it's honestly to say a person's entire mission in life, which is to increase dialogue, is bad, is just beyond me. I cannot understand that mindset in any possible way. He is a martyr, and the right are picking up the flag of Charlie Kirk and saying, "I am Charlie Kirk," or they want to kill all of us on the right for. I wouldn't say it's that extreme. I've seen a bunch of people describe it that way. I don't think it's that extreme, but there is a loud portion of the left that is blatantly celebrating it, and almost as infuriating as that is this. The side of the aisle that always calls for empathy every 2 seconds is out there also saying that apathy is fine. And now we're putting out there, hey, it's fine if you don't feel anything about this guy getting killed. You want, for whatever reason. To promote apathy is something I call out on my side or explain. On the libertarian side, it's quite often I get called it, and I understand where it comes from. We get called apathetic a fair bit, saying that we don't care about what happens to people. You don't care if some atrocious thing happens to them. You didn't support this or that government policy or thing of that nature. This is different. This is very different in my opinion. If you're out there saying, hey, it's fine if you don't feel anything about a father who's 31 years old, was murdered in front of thousands of people, in front of his wife and children, how screwed up is that? I mean, it's fine if you don't. Honestly, if you don't feel anything, I mean, whatever. I don't think that's fine per se. I think it goes to show a greater issue you probably have in your heart that you need to investigate. If it was someone on the left in that same position, say it's even the most inflammatory left-wing person, like Hassan or I don't know, Vosh. These are online personalities that have outright said some very heinous, atrocious things and called for, hey, we should attack them and to their political enemies constantly. It'd be tragic if they were murdered. That's not what we want. We want this country is built around dialogue and talking through issues and using our political system for change. It's the whole point of this is something that's unfortunately brought up a fair bit in the dialogue in the last week, is words are not violence. You can disagree with people living their life in a certain way. It doesn't mean you want them dead. You hear it all the time when it comes to the transgender debate. The left. There's these left people on the left. I'm not trying to say it's everyone. I'm trying to be very careful with how I'm wording everything. There are these people on the left that are say, if you don't believe that a child can be transgender, it means you just want them to die because either they're gonna off themselves or. I don't know. I honestly don't understand the entire nature of it because it comes down to the nature of thinking words are violence. And if you say things that are showing that you think their way of life is wrong, then it means you want them dead, when that is so far from the case. We want the people on the right, the honest people on the right, not just want better for people. We want people to accept who they are and their station in life and figure out the best way to handle it going forward, preferably by being involved with family and community and things of that nature. It's the reason why I've called out forever the not cutting people out of your life around politics, because as a person of the right, I want family to be the priority, and it should take a lot for you to get to the point where you need to remove someone from your life. Unfortunately, that's happened to me out of not my own desire and honestly not of my own decision. I've had someone that I've had to remove from my life, and guess what? It messes with me being able to interact with the rest of the family, and it's tragic. It's tragic. I don't want that for anybody. I know other people I've talked to on the right have experienced the similar things, maybe not in the exact same way as what I did, but it's the opposite of what we want. We want everyone to, yeah, your racist Uncle Bob, yeah, he's kind of a piece of garbage, but he's still part of the family. He's not hurting anyone. He has a bunch of dumb opinions, but it doesn't mean we hope he gets assassinated by some crazy person. It's so bad. I mean, I have three. So this is my clickbait title I'm going to use on YouTube, but I have like 3 steps, 3 important things I think are vital to fixing the nature of dialogue in this country. And they're not going to be popular with some people, either side of the aisle. I mean, one of the things where a lot of people on the right have been talking about is, hey, guess what? Going against this woman I was mentioning earlier, Charlie Kirk is a martyr, and we need to now step up and put down a line in the sand saying, we Republicans or not even Republicans, just people on the right, we put our foot down and enough's enough. We're not going to cope with anything from the left. I don't think that's the productive thing. I honestly feel like we should stand up fully, and we should not be afraid to voice our opinions. We should honestly come forward now stronger than ever politically, and using the political system to get our voices heard and to make sure people that aren't scared to talk. Because if a moment like this scares people, people will be afraid to voice their opinions even more now in certain situations. But if we're out there as on the political right saying, hey, no, we're still going to do this, we're still going to go up and make sure our voices are heard because we honestly feel like it's the right and moral thing, even though it can be difficult sometimes, even though it's oftentimes the way you fix our country when it comes from the political right are more long term, and it's not necessarily something that's an easy thing to stomach when it comes to getting laws passed and things of that nature. You got to do it anyways for so many reasons. But I mean, my 3 things are: understand your own hypocrisy, actually understand the nature of othering people, and be a good neighbor. And that last one really is key. I'll talk about that more in a minute, but understanding your own hypocrisy is key. It's you should want for everyone what you want. It's a better future. It's not necessarily hoping people just die in the street. It's hoping that you understand where, hey, sometimes you say one thing, but in your actions are another way. And I try and be very straightforward myself with my own hypocrisy when it comes to that, because I'm a very libertarian-leaning dude, but hey, there's a level of money we need to figure out to fund the government. That's something that I know many people on the libertarian right despise deeply. From taxation is theft is a meme for a reason. I do believe taxation at gunpoint which is the nature of how government operates, is problematic, but we do live in a large, interconnected world where it takes money to have a proper military that for our own defense. It should not be out there searching for dragons to slay, but it should be there to make sure our democracy is safe going forward. That's probably one of the easiest example of my own, personally, I could say, politically. But that's I think that's understanding where you come from and how you're being hypocritical is key. And I always call out both sides of the aisle on this program when it comes to hypocrisy, because that's what really breeds the hatred for the other side of the aisle quite often. Is, hey, you're saying that everyone should have freedom of speech, but then you turn around and say, well, not that kind. You can't do that. That's not allowed. I hear that all the time, especially on the left, and it's a real issue. And I understand the hypocrisy of the nature of Donald Trump and everything when it comes to him, because I've always said he's this slimeball real estate guy from New York and Florida that has played games to get where he is, and I totally understand the people that can't stomach that. It was really hard for me to stomach voting for him the previous cycle. I did not want to vote for him, ever, period. It was out of pragmatism. Pragmatism is important. All right, actually understand the nature of othering people is very important. Post Charlie Kirk here, where I'm going to link two videos down in the description. One is from Layton Observes, Layton Observes. The title is I'm sorry, I don't have the title here, but I'll link his video. All he did for half hour is just videos of the toxic responses from the left when it comes to, hey, it's fine if you don't feel anything. People literally celebrating in the streets, singing and dancing that Charlie Kirk is dead, and all these terrible things. I think it's really important to watch some of that if you really want to involve yourself in this dialogue. If you don't want to involve yourself in this dialogue, I totally understand if you don't want to. I didn't want to, but I felt like I had to in order to have honest commentary when it comes to it. And the other one is from Shoe on Head. She literally titled her video, "These People Are Sick." Shoe on Head's a lefty person. She's a very progressive person. She's a female Bernie bro. But she's had enough of the Democratic Party because of the nature of everything she's seeing from the people that she thought she was close to or friends with, and the way that they're literally celebrating everything that's happened here. It really kills me as someone on the right to see the left-wing people out there who constantly are saying, hey, you're othering black people, you're othering gay people, you're showing they're not human by expressing your political opinions and things of that nature, when that's terrible. That's not how you have a dialogue on it. You say, hey, you disagree for this or that, but to then turn around and say, well, I really don't give a crap if you end up dead because you don't support my ideology. Leftism is an ideology. It's people literally call it a cult for a reason, and that's because of things like this. It really killed me. I had a presentation with that I watched with a Keene State College professor, the Genocide Studies program over there, and it's one of these DEI sort of things that really, really burns me badly, where he literally on one slide had a picture of 6 to 9 European white-looking people on the screen, and we're talking about World War II and genocide and things of that nature. And he said, I want you to look at this slide and say, and who do you think are the people that are the bad people, the followers, or the innocents? Just look at these pictures. I want you to look at them and come up with your answers for this. And I was like, you're literally asking people to just assume what's going on in their heads and their actions while knowing absolutely nothing about them. And that goes totally against the MLK Jr. teachings, which I was key for me growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. That was still one of the big things, the melting pot, and don't assume anything about people based on their skin color or where they're from or anything like that. Honestly, learn a bit about them, and if you learn about their ideology and whatever it is and you have problems with it, then you can come to some conclusions from that. Most likely. They may be wrong, but because once again, everyone has hypocrisy. You may believe a lot of things personally, but it doesn't mean, it's not even hypocrisy. I'm just thinking out loud when it comes to this. It's not hypocrisy to say, hey, I think this is what's best for me and my family, but if you want to go do whatever crazy thing I disagree with, it's not necessarily my job to force it upon you with the gun of the government or anything of that nature. But people in the group, there are a bunch of left-wingers that have all kind of grown up in this sort of stuff. We're like, well, I think this person probably is the oppressor. He looks kind of angry and mean looking, and he looks kind of the part. Maybe that's a uniform he's wearing when you can't really tell what it is. And that's the most toxic thing in the world. That's encouraging more racism. This whole implicit bias and all these other things are just assume the worst of people and bring out the worst in people. And when you... And there's been so much of this around Charlie Kirk, where because he was a religious right conservative type, that felt their way about homosexuality and transgenderism and communism for that matter, and socialism, things of that nature, they just assume, well, this man's the enemy, so I don't really care what happens to him. What? I don't care. I disagree with Barack Obama to the nth degree. I think he's been the worst thing for our for debate in this country when it comes to politics, because of him pushing more and more race into the discussion and things when I don't think it was the appropriate place to do it. I don't want him to be killed. That'd be terrible. All the people after, let's talk about the ultimate othering of people is hoping that someone goes and assassinates them, or not caring when something happens to a human being. And I'll get called a hypocrite for saying, well, you don't care about what happens in Gaza, or you don't care about what happens to the people of Ukraine because you want these conflicts to end. I want these conflicts to end because because it's just not going anywhere, because these conflicts are just making everything worse. And for the record, I've called out that the Gaza situation should have ended forever ago, just a couple episodes ago. You can been very straightforward on it. I don't want Israel to feel in danger of Hamas, and on the other side, what they're doing by the way they're having this war happen in Gaza is making things very, very bad, and it's the wrong direction. Call me a hypocrite. I really don't care. I want to make sure that we're not othering people, and we do understand the nature of people do come from different backgrounds. We need to in turn come with grace and understanding and say, hey, they came from a different direction. You hear this all the time when it comes to homeless people, which will kind of lead into my good neighbors section I want to briefly talk about, is I don't want them othered. I want the homeless people on the street. I feel pity, and I hope that they get help. I hope that they get assistance, but because I think the harm reduction programs are toxic and going to make everything worse, it doesn't mean I want them to die. I want them to get help. But just passing out Narcan every 5 seconds isn't giving them help. It's just making sure they don't die at that moment. It's not fixing any of their issues. And that really goes into being a good neighbor, which if you're putting on Facebook saying, hey, I felt nothing about what happened to Charlie Kirk, I don't care, whatever. Well, you gotta also consider how people are gonna take that. And a bunch of people have taken down these posts. I'm not calling out anyone in particular. I've seen this a bunch. You're being a bad neighbor because you're showing, hey, I don't care that, hey, you get killed. Whatever. I've known you for years. You probably respected me as a person, but guess what? Hey, I don't really give a crap that this young guy that you agreed with or disagreed with, for that matter. I didn't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk said, and you don't care that he was killed. Like, what? You don't care that the political leader for 100 million people in this country, when it comes to Donald Trump, when he's almost got killed within a millimeter, you don't feel anything? You need to look inside your soul. You need to look inside your soul. And going back to the example of the homelessness, you're being a bad neighbor also by saying, hey, it's fine, all these people camping on the street. I've been multiple times. I live in downtown Concord. I've been scared multiple times that something was going to happen to my wife and kid because they were wandering around because of the camps that were all over the place around downtown. Like, that's being a bad neighbor if you're just allowing this to happen and enabling it. I'm not saying that necessarily we need to put them into the dregs of the woods and hide them away. I'm saying we need to try and bring them into shelters. The half measure in this situation of fixing the homelessness situation is more evil. It's not the lesser evil, it's the more evil way of doing it, because you're encouraging people that with severe mental disabilities, drug addiction, all sorts of other issues just continue to live on the street, and you're embracing their drug addictions and disabilities and issues, and by just allowing them to continue to be living that way, and making the city not safe, making it so everyone is afraid to be neighborly, because if you go outside and you don't know if you're going to deal with people screaming at the street. And my kid, he's grown up in Concord, and seeing people that are literally shouting obscenities and screaming, or a couple of these guys attacking each other, things of that nature, that's not good for him to see. I don't want any kid to have to see that. I don't want any adult to see that. But we need to open up the shelters, and it's something I really want to start approaching over the coming weeks and months, is starting to look at mental health again. I've talked about homelessness a few times. I haven't really found a good angle that I really wanted to dive into because it's so complex, and I want to do it right. It really comes down to mental health. We shut down all this, the asylums and stuff for the most damaged people in our society, so they now don't have a place to live. What's the fallout of that? They're like New Hampshire Hospital. I grew up in the Augusta, Maine area with AmHigh, which is the institution up there. If you completely remove that from the equation, I understand there were severe systemic issues with those operations and how they worked back then, but to just close them and say, figure it out, that's the opposite of the solution. Some of these people need, unfortunately, to be in institutionalized settings for the rest of their life because they are broken up in their heads where they cannot function in society. I don't want them to be in jail. I want them to be able to have opportunities. And guess what? Instead of having these solutions for that, we're just throwing them away in prison. Isn't that the opposite of what people on the left keep saying they want to have happen? It's just bad. It's just bad. And so there's a whole tangent of homelessness and things like that. But once again, understanding your hypocrisy, understanding the nurturing othering people, and being a good neighbor should be the cornerstones. It all comes down to the golden rule, where treat people how you want to be treated. I want people to respect that I have different beliefs from them without them thinking it's okay that someone murders me. Right? Once again, I saw the brutal images of what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I don't wish anyone to see anything like that. It's because I was online at the time. They were just everywhere. Fortunately, they're not posted all the time anymore, but it's just bad, and I want people to hope that I have a good life. I hope everyone else has. If you watch this, you disagree with me, I hope you have a great life. I hope you are understanding that people disagree with you doesn't mean that they hate you or want you dead or anything of that nature. We want different things for the people in our communities, and I hope that's not a crazy thing to say. Words are not violence. Saying you're disagreeing with people because your Christian beliefs, your Jewish beliefs, or hell, your Islamic beliefs, because guess what? A lot of the people forget on the left is Islamic people feel very similarly when it comes to traditional conservative values, and people forget about that. I hope we all have an opportunity to happily, safely, and comfortably live our lives and not feel afraid. Right? Isn't that the basics? Just you want to be able to not live in fear and be able to still express yourself freely without concern that someone's going to freak out on you because you disagree. All right. NewEnglandTake.com. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Once again, I'm going to give a plug to the Filmmakers Collaborative screening of the movie Gone Guys, the documentary. It'll be Tuesday, September 30th, 7 p.m. at Pembroke City Limits. A buddy of mine runs that place, Rob Azevedo. Great place over there. Check it out. They have all sorts of music that plays there all the time, too. But I think part of this, the message of this documentary is really appropriate. What's going on? You may disagree with the outcomes. I think I listened to the interview with the guy. I disagree with some of the reasoning he thinks why it's going there, or some of the solutions. But to understand where other people are coming with solutions allows you to be more informed in what you may think is best to fix what's going on with broken men that keep causing bad things like this, like the assassin in this situation. We need to open up dialogue again, because that's the best way to fix it. All right. Once again, NewEnglandTake.com. Like, subscribe, and thanks to WKXL for picking up the show Saturdays at 8:30 a.m. NHTalkRadio.com and GrandGrock.com for picking up the show every week. Talk to you soon.